People often think that it takes massive change to create a massive life. But let me tell you a secret I've learned through every stage of my journey. It's never the big leaps that transform you. It's the small, consistent habits you build every single day. One simple action, repeated with intention, has the power to completely rewrite your story. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or a grand opportunity. Change starts right now, with the tiniest shift in how you live, how you think, and how you show up for yourself. Today, I want to show you how one small habit can unlock a future beyond your wildest dreams, because trust me, the smallest step can lead to the biggest result. When you look at people who have achieved extraordinary things, it's easy to assume they got there through massive, dramatic actions. We often think success comes from a sudden breakthrough or a life-changing event, but the truth is far more subtle and far more powerful. It's not the big moments that define the trajectory of your life. It's the small, consistent actions you take every single day. Consistency beats intensity every single time because it creates a foundation that is unshakable. One intense effort can give you a burst of progress, but consistency builds character, discipline, and results that last a lifetime. Think of it this way: a single workout might make you feel good, but it won't transform your body. A single day of eating healthy won't change your health. A single act of kindness won't redefine your relationships. But when you repeat these actions daily, when you make them part of who you are rather than something you do once in a while, that's when the real transformation begins. Consistency takes a small habit and turns it into a lifestyle. It's not glamorous, it's not dramatic, but it's the secret behind every big result you've ever admired. The reason consistency beats intensity is simple. Intensity is a spark, while consistency is the fire that keeps burning. You can push hard for a day, a week, or even a month, but without consistency, that energy fades. True change isn't about how hard you can go in the moment. It's about how long you can keep going when the excitement wears off. Anyone can be intense for a short period of time. Very few can be consistent when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one is watching. That's where transformation is born, in the quiet, uncelebrated repetition of small habits done every single day. Another reason consistency is so powerful is that it rewires your identity. Every time you repeat a small action, you are casting a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. If you write one page every day, you're no longer just someone who wants to write, you are a writer. If you choose to move your body daily, even for a few minutes, you are no longer just someone trying to get fit, you are an active person. Intensity can make you feel motivated for a short time, but consistency changes how you see yourself. And when your identity shifts, your actions follow naturally. You no longer have to force yourself. You are simply living out who you've become. Consistency also creates compounding effects. A small habit done daily doesn't just add up, it multiplies over time. Missing one day might not seem like a big deal, but missing many days creates a pattern. Similarly, showing up every single day, even in small ways, creates momentum that becomes unstoppable. It's like pushing a snowball down a hill at first. It feels small and insignificant, but the more it rolls, the more it grows until it becomes a force you can't ignore. That's what happens when you choose consistency over intensity. The small habit you commit to today may look tiny, but given time, it will transform into something extraordinary. What's also important to understand is that consistency doesn't mean perfection. It's not about never missing a day or never making mistakes. It's about showing up more often than not, choosing the habit again and again until it becomes part of you. Too many people quit because they mess up once and think they've failed, but consistency is about the long game. One missed day won't ruin you, just like one intense day won't save you. What matters is the pattern you create over time. When you choose to get back on track quickly, you keep the chain alive, and that chain is what leads to big results. Another beautiful thing about consistency is that it simplifies everything. You don't have to wait for motivation. You don't have to rely on willpower every single day. When something becomes consistent, it becomes automatic. You no longer ask yourself if you feel like doing it, you just do it because it's who you are now. That's the power of small habits done over and over again. They shift from being tasks you do into becoming part of your identity. That's when transformation sticks. That's when results last. So if you want to change your life, don't focus on intensity. Don't wait for the perfect plan or the perfect moment. Start small and commit to being consistent. It might not feel dramatic at first, and that's okay. Greatness is rarely born in dramatic moments. It's built in the quiet, steady commitment to doing the small things well, over and over again. One small habit, done consistently, has the power to unlock a life you can't even imagine right now. Consistency doesn't just beat intensity, it builds the kind of life that intensity alone can never create. Tiny changes often feel insignificant when you first start. They don't seem powerful enough to make a difference. You take a small step, make a subtle shift, or adopt a minor habit, and it feels like nothing has changed. But what most people don't realize is that these small actions are seeds. And when you plant seeds every day, even if they're tiny, they eventually grow into something far greater than you imagined. That's the power of tiny changes. They compound over time into massive transformation. Think about a single drop of water falling on a rock. One drop won't do anything. 10 drops won't make a difference either. But if you keep dripping water over days, months, and years, the rock begins to erode. That's what tiny changes do to your life. They chip away at the old patterns, the limiting beliefs, and the habits that hold you back until they create space for something new. You don't notice the shift immediately, but one day you look back and realize how far you've come. It feels almost magical, but it's not magic. It's the result of consistent, small actions compounding over time. Tiny changes are powerful because they are sustainable. Big, dramatic changes often burn out quickly because they require so much energy. You might overhaul your entire life in 1 week with intensity, but that kind of effort is hard to maintain. Small changes, on the other hand, slip into your daily life almost effortlessly. You can repeat them day after day without draining yourself. Over time, these small habits become part of your routine, and because they're easy to keep up, they stick long enough to create lasting impact. Another reason tiny changes lead to massive transformation is that they bypass the resistance in your mind. When you tell yourself you're going to make a huge change, your brain often fights back. It's wired to protect you from discomfort and risk. But when the change is small, almost too small to notice, your mind doesn't panic. You don't feel overwhelmed or scared, you just do it, and as you repeat that tiny action, you build trust with yourself. That trust becomes confidence, and that confidence allows you to take slightly bigger steps. Before you know it, those tiny changes have created a completely new version of you. What's beautiful about small shifts is that they create ripple effects in every area of your life. For example, committing to just 5 minutes of daily exercise might seem too small to matter. But that small action can boost your energy, which makes you more productive, which improves your mood, which strengthens your relationships. A tiny change in one area spills over into others, creating a chain reaction of positive growth. The transformation isn't linear. It multiplies because every small improvement touches multiple parts of your life. Small changes also reshape your identity in powerful ways. Every time you make a tiny decision aligned with the person you want to become, you are reinforcing that identity. If you choose to read 1 page a day, you're casting a vote for being a reader. If you choose to save a small amount of money every week, you're becoming someone who values financial stability. Over time, those votes add up, and you start to embody the identity you've been building. You don't just achieve goals, you transform who you are at the core. The compounding effect of tiny changes is similar to investing money. When you invest a little every day, at first the growth looks slow. But as time passes, the returns multiply, and the growth curve suddenly shoots upward. That's exactly how habits work. At first, the results are invisible. You won't see a difference in a week or even a month. But give it 6 months or a year, and you'll realize the small things you did every day have created massive change. The key is patience, trusting the process long enough to let the compounding take effect. It's also important to understand that small changes don't just build results, they build resilience. When you learn to show up daily in small ways, you train yourself to keep moving forward even when life gets hard. You develop discipline and persistence without overwhelming yourself. That quiet strength becomes the foundation you rely on when bigger challenges come your way. Massive transformation isn't just about what you achieve, it's about the person you become in the process, and tiny changes shape you into someone who can handle more than you ever thought possible. So if you feel stuck or overwhelmed by the idea of changing your life, start small. Choose one tiny habit, make one subtle shift, take one small action and repeat it every day. It won't feel life-changing at first, and that's okay. The transformation isn't supposed to be instant. It's supposed to be gradual, steady, and powerful enough to last. With time, those tiny changes will compound into a version of you that feels completely new. One day you'll look back and realize that the big result you've been dreaming of was born from the smallest steps you dared to take. Your environment has more influence on your habits than most people realize. We often think change comes purely from willpower or motivation, but the truth is, you are constantly shaped by what surrounds you. The people you spend time with, the spaces you live in, the cues you see every day, all of these silently dictate what you do and who you become. If you want to build a small habit that leads to big results, you have to start by shaping the environment around you to support the life you want. Imagine trying to eat healthier while your kitchen is stocked with junk food. Every time you walk in, you're reminded of temptation. Now imagine the opposite, a bowl of fresh fruit on the counter, prepped vegetables in the fridge, and water within easy reach. Suddenly, the healthier choice becomes effortless, not because you became more disciplined overnight, but because the environment made the decision for you. Your surroundings are either a silent ally or a constant obstacle. When you intentionally design them, you make the small habits you want to build almost automatic. Your environment doesn't just include physical space, it also includes the people you allow into your life. We mirror the behaviors of those around us, often without realizing it. If you're surrounded by people who complain, procrastinate, or settle for less, it becomes normal to do the same. But when you spend time with people who push themselves, grow, and live intentionally, you naturally rise to their level. One small change, like spending more time with someone who embodies the habits you want to build, can completely shift the trajectory of your life. You become like the environments and people you expose yourself to most often. Another powerful aspect of environment is the presence of cues. Habits are triggered by signals around you. A messy desk can make you feel scattered and unproductive, while a clean, organized workspace can encourage focus. Leaving your workout clothes where you can see them can remind you to move your body. Keeping a journal on your nightstand and makes it easier to reflect before bed. When you place visual cues in your environment that align with your goals, you don't have to rely on memory or motivation. The space nudges you into action every time you see it. One of the reasons environment shapes habits so effectively is that it reduces friction. When something is easy to do, you're more likely to do it. When it's hard, you avoid it. If you want to start a new habit, make it effortless by changing your surroundings. Want to read more? Keep a book where you relax instead of hiding it on a shelf. Want to drink more water? Keep a bottle on your desk. Want to practice gratitude? Leave a notepad in a spot you pass every morning. The less resistance there is between you and the habit, the more naturally it becomes part of your routine. The opposite is also true. If you want to break a habit that holds you back, add friction to it. Hide the snacks you don't want to eat, move the apps you overuse to a folder where you won't see them, create an environment where the bad habit is harder to access. Small changes like this can completely shift your behavior because they align with how your brain works. You're not forcing yourself to be different through sheer willpower. You're designing a space that makes the right choice the easy choice. Your environment also shapes your identity over time. When you surround yourself with reminders of the person you want to become, you begin to see yourself differently. A vision board on your wall, affirmations on your mirror, or even a single inspiring quote placed where you see it daily, can reinforce the mindset you're building. Over time, these subtle cues reshape not just your actions, but how you view yourself. The environment becomes a mirror reflecting back the identity you're growing into. Changing your environment doesn't require massive effort. In fact, it's often the smallest adjustments that have the biggest impact. Moving your alarm clock across the room to avoid hitting snooze, creating a dedicated corner for meditation or journaling, setting your phone in another room during dinner to be more present. These are simple shifts, but they change what you do without you even realizing it. When you control your surroundings, you control the default patterns of your life. Ultimately, your environment is a silent architect of your destiny. It shapes your habits, and your habits shape who you become. If you want to see big results from a small habit, ask yourself, does my environment make this easy or hard? Does it support the person I want to be, or does it pull me back to who I was? The answers will show you exactly where to start. By intentionally creating a space and surrounding yourself with people that align with your goals, you make success not a matter of willpower, but a natural outcome of the world you live in. Discipline is often misunderstood. People see it as restriction, as something that limits freedom, when in reality, it is the very thing that creates it. Without discipline, you are at the mercy of your impulses, your moods, and your circumstances. You go where life pushes you instead of where you choose to go. Discipline flips that script. It gives you the power to shape your life intentionally. It's the bridge between who you are and who you want to become, and it often starts with one small habit repeated until it becomes second nature. When you commit to a small daily habit, something happens that goes beyond the action itself. You begin to teach yourself that you can be trusted. Every day you show up for that habit, you cast a vote for the kind of person who follows through. That trust builds discipline, and discipline doesn't just stay in that one area, it spills over into every part of your life. If you can keep a promise to yourself in one thing, you begin to keep promises in other things. You build a level of self-respect that makes it harder to settle for less in any area of your life. Discipline creates freedom because it gives you control over your future. Think of someone who decides to save a small amount of money every day. It requires discipline to make that choice instead of spending impulsively. But over time, that discipline leads to financial security, which gives them the freedom to make choices without fear. Someone who commits to moving their body daily, even in small ways, builds discipline in their health. That discipline pays off with energy, vitality, and the freedom to live fully without being limited by their body. What feels like restriction in the moment actually expands what is possible for you in the long run. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't require you to be perfect. It simply requires you to show up consistently, even when you don't feel like it. Motivation is fleeting. It's easy to act when you're inspired, but discipline is what carries you when the inspiration fades. That's why small daily habits are so powerful. They train you to act independent of emotion. You no longer rely on feeling ready or waiting for the right time. You just do the thing because it's who you are now. That reliability creates a sense of freedom because you are no longer controlled by procrastination, excuses, or temporary feelings. Many people resist discipline because they see it as sacrifice, but the truth is you are always making a trade-off. Without discipline, you sacrifice your future for short-term comfort. With discipline, you sacrifice temporary ease for long-term gain. One feels good in the moment but leaves you stuck. The other might feel uncomfortable at first, but it unlocks doors you didn't even know were there. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about choosing what you want most over what you want now. That choice, repeated over and over, is where transformation lives. Discipline also builds confidence. Every time you do what you said you would do, especially on the days you don't want to, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That confidence creates momentum. You start with one small habit, and suddenly you find yourself wanting to improve in other areas because you've built the muscle of self-control. Discipline in one thing makes it easier to be disciplined in others. It becomes part of your identity, and when discipline becomes who you are, freedom follows naturally. It's also important to recognize that discipline doesn't have to be harsh. It doesn't mean forcing yourself relentlessly or never resting. True discipline includes balance. It's knowing when to push and when to pause. It's creating a structure that supports your goals without breaking you in the process. A small daily habit is one of the gentlest ways to build discipline because it's manageable. It's not about doing everything at once. It's about proving to yourself every day in one small way that you can take control of your life. Over time, discipline rewrites the story you tell yourself. You go from "I can't stick to anything" to "I follow through." You go from being controlled by circumstances to creating your own path. And it all starts with a choice to commit to one thing and keep showing up. That one habit might look insignificant now, but it's training you in something far greater, the ability to choose your future over your comfort. That's the real freedom discipline brings. It's not about restriction. It's about unlocking the life you truly want, one small, consistent action at a time. Every action you take is not just something you do. It is a statement about who you are becoming. Habits are not simply routines that fill your day. They are the building blocks of your identity. That is why one single habit has the power to shift your entire life. When you commit to doing something small every day, you are not just changing what you do. You are changing who you are at the core. And once your identity shifts, everything else begins to align with that new version of yourself. Many people try to change their lives by chasing results. They focus on the outcome, losing weight, earning more, building confidence, and then get frustrated when they can't sustain the actions needed to get there. The missing link is identity. You can't consistently act in a way that conflicts with who you believe you are. If deep down you see yourself as someone who can't stay committed, you will sabotage yourself no matter how much you want the goal. But when you choose one small habit and stick to it, you start to cast votes for a new identity. Each time you follow through, you reinforce the belief that you are the kind of person who does this. Over time, that belief becomes unshakable, and the actions you once struggled with become natural. For example, imagine deciding to journal one line every night before bed. It's such a small habit that it seems almost meaningless. But each time you do it, you are telling yourself, "I am someone who reflects. I am someone who learns." Eventually, that identity expands. You might begin journaling more, seeking growth in other areas, and making choices that align with being a reflective, intentional person. That one habit created a ripple effect because it rewired how you see yourself. It stopped being about the action and became about the person you were becoming. Identity-based habits are powerful because they create internal alignment. When who you believe you are matches what you do, you no longer fight yourself. You no longer have to force discipline or motivation because the habit becomes part of your natural expression. Someone who identifies as a healthy person doesn't have to argue with themselves every day about exercising or eating well. It's just what they do. Someone who sees themselves as a writer doesn't wait for inspiration to strike. Writing is part of who they are. That shift begins with one small habit repeated until it defines you. One habit can shift your entire identity because it acts as proof. We often underestimate the power of evidence in shaping our beliefs about ourselves. Telling yourself you are disciplined is one thing, but proving it to yourself through action is what makes it real. That's why small habits work so effectively. They are manageable enough to repeat daily, and each repetition provides more proof. Soon, the belief becomes so strong that it spills over into other areas of your life. You become the person who follows through, not just in one thing, but in everything. What's incredible is that the habit itself doesn't have to be dramatic to spark this change. It could be as simple as drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, reading one page a day, or writing down 3 things you're grateful for. It's not about the size of the habit. It's about the consistency and the identity it builds. Once your identity begins to shift, you naturally start to expand. You adopt other habits that align with this new version of yourself because you want to act in harmony with who you believe you are. Another reason one habit can shift your identity is that it creates a sense of control. When you prove to yourself that you can change one small thing, you begin to believe you can change bigger things. It builds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of growth. Many people feel stuck because they've broken too many promises to themselves. But keeping one small promise daily rebuilds that trust. Suddenly, you are no longer the person who quits or procrastinates, you are the person who follows through. That shift in identity is what opens the door to every other transformation. This process also creates momentum. Identity change doesn't happen overnight, but with every repetition of that small habit, you are adding weight to the new version of you. Over time, the old identity fades and the new one becomes dominant. That's when the habit stops being something you do and becomes who you are. And when your identity changes, your decisions, actions, and results change automatically without forcing them. One small habit may not look like much from the outside, but on the inside, it is rewriting your story. It is building the version of you that can create the life you want. It is proof that transformation isn't about doing everything at once. It's about choosing one thing that aligns with the person you want to become and showing up for it every single day. That one habit has the power to shift your entire identity because it teaches you the most important truth. You are not fixed. You can become whoever you choose to be, one small, consistent action at a time. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces you can create in your life. When you achieve a small win every single day, even if it feels insignificant in the moment, you begin to build energy that carries you forward. One win leads to another, and suddenly you are no longer pushing yourself uphill. You are being pulled by the momentum you've created. That's why small daily wins are so critical. They may not seem like much on their own, but together they create an unstoppable flow of progress that transforms everything. A small win doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be as simple as drinking enough water, completing a 5-minute workout, writing a single paragraph, or sticking to your morning routine. What matters is not the size of the win, but the fact that you showed up and followed through. Each time you do, you're sending yourself a powerful message. I can count on me. That belief builds confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. You start proving to yourself day after day that you are capable of moving forward, and that proof becomes the engine that drives bigger victories. The beauty of small daily wins is that they create a chain reaction. One positive action naturally leads to another. When you start the day with a small win, you set the tone for everything that follows. It's not just about the action itself, it's about the mindset it creates. You feel capable, disciplined, and in control. That energy carries into the next task and then the next. Over time, this chain of small wins adds up to massive progress, often faster than you imagined, because momentum multiplies effort. Momentum also helps you overcome resistance. Starting is always the hardest part. When you are at rest, it takes a huge amount of energy to push yourself into motion. But once you're moving, staying in motion becomes much easier. That's why small daily wins are so effective. They act as the spark that gets you going. You might not feel ready to tackle a huge goal, but completing one simple habit creates enough movement to make the next step easier. Day after day, those tiny wins keep the engine running, so you never lose that forward motion. Another reason small wins create unstoppable momentum is that they shift your focus. When you aim for massive results too quickly, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and discouraged. But when you break things down into daily wins, you give yourself constant reasons to celebrate. Each win, no matter how small, becomes proof that you are making progress. That sense of progress fuels motivation, and motivation makes you want to keep going. Momentum isn't built on perfection. It's built on consistent proof that you're moving in the right direction. Small daily wins also train your brain to associate effort with reward. Every time you complete a habit and recognize it as a win, your brain releases a small dose of satisfaction. That feeling reinforces the behavior, making you want to repeat it. Over time, your mind begins to crave the habit because it associates it with success. This is how momentum becomes self-sustaining. You no longer have to force yourself to act. The habit becomes something you naturally gravitate toward because it feels good to win every day. The effect of momentum isn't just limited to the habit itself. It spills over into every area of your life. When you build momentum in one thing, you feel more capable in everything else. Achieving small wins daily builds a sense of identity as someone who gets things done. That identity makes you approach other challenges with more confidence. Suddenly, tasks that once felt impossible don't scare you because you've proven to yourself repeatedly that you can handle progress, one small step at a time. What's amazing is that momentum doesn't require perfection. You don't have to win big every day. You just have to win something. Even on tough days, when everything feels heavy, achieving one small win keeps the chain alive. It reminds you that you are still in motion, even if it's slower than usual. That consistency is what creates unstoppable momentum. You're no longer dependent on bursts of motivation. You've built a steady flow that carries you forward regardless of circumstances. Over time, these small daily wins accumulate into something far bigger than you ever expected. The habit you started as a simple action becomes a cornerstone of who you are. The momentum you created doesn't just lead to one big result, it opens doors to countless others. That's the real power of small wins. They don't just move you forward, they transform you into the kind of person who keeps moving forward no matter what. And when you become that person, there's nothing in your life that can stay the same for long. Momentum turns small actions into unstoppable progress, and it all starts with one simple win today. When you look back at everything we've uncovered, one truth becomes crystal clear. It's not the grand gestures or the massive overhauls that transform a life. It's the small, intentional actions repeated day after day. A single habit, tiny and almost invisible at first, can ripple outward and rewrite the entire story of who you are and what you can achieve. Consistency turns effort into a lifestyle. Small changes compound into something far greater than the sum of their parts. Your environment silently shapes you. Discipline gives you the freedom to choose your future, and one habit can redefine your entire identity. And when you stack small wins every single day, you create momentum so strong that nothing can hold you back. This isn't about perfection or waiting for the right moment. It's about starting now with one simple step, one action that aligns with the person you want to become, one choice that proves to you over and over that change is possible. Because once you take that first step and keep taking it, you won't just change a habit, you'll change your life. The power is not in doing everything at once. It's in daring to begin with something small and letting it grow into something extraordinary. And the best part, that power has always been in your hands, waiting for you to use it today.